I respond to two videos aimed at me by Gambleor. The first is a response to my video, Gambleor, Dishonest to the End, called Beelzebub, Study is Necessary for Educated Discussion. That title of his. He wants me to buy the fact that something he can't study, is God, needs to be studied in order to talk about it. Jesus, something he can't study, needs to be studied to talk about. No. What this actually is saying is that to speak on these subjects, you must study what others have written on them. He was discussing Bart Ehrman on one of my pages with other YouTubers. He brought this up in the beginning of his video.
First, I wanted to address the idea that I've been misrepresenting Bart Ehrman.
Since we weren't discussing the guy, I didn't think this was aimed at me until Gambleor said this.
Beelzebub openly admits to not even knowing who Bart Ehrman is. Really? He's one of the leading scholars in the field.
He, as always, in an attempt to prove the existence of his favorite pixies, quoted everyone and their mother, and said this is one of the reasons that he believes in these particular pixies. Evidently, he has studied every other belief system to know those are untrue. He has studied all science to know his delusion is real. What Gambleor is unwittingly saying is that you must possess the whole of human knowledge to discuss his religion with him. Yet he makes a video called Beelzebub, Atheism's Own Shock of God. Evidently, he doesn't have to study me to speak on my views. I mentioned this in a video to make this same point. Gambleor obviously didn't see what I was saying, hence the title of his video. On a side note, I said Beelzebub, Atheism's Own Shock of God, is a bunch of lies, but I don't consider Gambleor a liar. I don't expect people to study all my videos to make a single one to me. I consider that video of his simply a mistake. I told him that others may consider it lies if they've seen my video, Shock of God and the Two Questions. Back to Bart Ehrman. If he was commenting on my videos or PMing me, I would give a rat's ass who he is. Unlike you, Gambleor, I don't care what anyone says in a debate, only what they can prove. Mentioning Ehrman to me is as useless to your argument as mentioning Santa Claus. I asked you what any of these scholars you quote discovered to give you the impression that they are justified in believing your Jesus exists. I'm still awaiting your answer. I accept a lot of scientific principles. I accept them because they are backed by evidence. So telling me you believe this because someone else does is a mistake. If belief in something for the hell of it was valid, I'd already be a theist. And your admission that you believe this partly to the fact that others do, well, sorry man, I can only laugh at that. You then pulled this out.
Rejecting claims made about an individual is not the same as rejecting the existence of said individual.
I didn't make such a claim. This is something that never was discussed in the comments. It was never mentioned in the comments by Gambleor. This suggests we were talking about something else and that my video, that is a response to the comments he made on my page, missed his point. We were discussing the historicity of the existence of an individual named Jesus who was the impetus for the Jesus in the Bible. This means a Jesus sans miracles. That's paraphrasing him. I summarily debunked his notion of the historical Jesus, the one without miracles. I then asked him which Jesus does he worship, the historical one or the Bible's rendition. He said the Bible's. From that point on, we were discussing the existence of the Jesus from the Bible.
As I was not arguing about the validity of the claims, but rather the existence of the individual, the claims made about him would be irrelevant to the discussion.
This is an agreed upon thing, and only an asinine fool would believe otherwise. He is insinuating that I held and forwarded an opposite view.
There is a difference between archaeology and history. Archaeology is the recovery and study of material objects to investigate the structure and behavior of past cultures, and history is a continuous systematic narrative of past events as relating to a particular people, country, period, person, etc., usually written as a chronological account. We shouldn't confuse the overlapping of archaeology and history to mean that they are the same disciplines.
Archaeology? That he pulled out his ass. Where does that even come from? Archaeology was never mentioned by him or me. If he brings it up to assert that parts of what we were discussing concerns archaeology, then why didn't he say it during our exchange? It is a feeble attempt by him to say he and I were discussing separate issues, and I didn't know it. Of course, he never corrected me on this during our exchange, if it was true. Why? Only he knows. If archaeology was at all relevant to the discussion, then he must have archaeological evidence for his claims, but for some reason only known to him, neglected to mention it. Or he was saying that I was unknowingly using archaeology to debunk his claims. I wasn't, and he'd have to prove I was using it at all. But in case you have a problem with someone ever using archaeology to debunk your claims, Gambleor, debunking is debunking.
It's It's a monumental failure in logic to assume that we can assess the validity of claims about an individual whose existence we reject outright. This is the point from which I was trying not to deviate, but Beelzebub kept pressing. One must first conclude that an individual exists before they can argue about the claims made about that individual. If the individual does not exist, then any and all claims about that individual make no difference. The argument about the existence of my Jesus, quote-unquote, was a practice in atheistic presuppositional apologetics. And everyone that agreed with it was either duped, totally and utterly biased to the point of intellectual and or logical blindness, or just plain stupid. It's the same exact thing as arguing for what the attributes and capabilities of a non-existent computer are.
Now this is simply the straw that will break this camel's back. So, according to Gambleor, if you don't believe something exists, you can't talk about it. You can't have an opinion on it. You can't make your feelings known on it. You can only do these things if you accept that what you are dismissing as existing exists. And he calls the opposite view of this colloquial theory of his a monumental failure. You must accept Jesus existed in order to say he never performed miracles. Otherwise, in his view, this is a contradiction. It would be if that is what atheists are saying, but it is not. Atheists are saying they don't believe your Jesus existed. That means it is impossible for your Jesus to have performed miracles. If I'm still unclear, Gambleor, I'll break it down. During our debate, you said the historical Jesus did not perform miracles, as you put it. Those miracles written in the Bible are just made-up crap by the people that followed it. So in this statement of yours, you are referring specifically to the Jesus of the Bible that did perform miracles. If someone asked you if the Hercules from Greek myth existed, and you say no, which I'm sure you do believe, and that person next asked you, did Hercules from Greek myth perform any of the miracles attributed to him? You, Gambleor, by your logic, would have to say you don't know. So calling atheists stupid for this, as you did, shows your utter lack of understanding. He said at the end of this video he can't see anyone coming back from what he said in it. So apropos. Next, a response to Gambleor's video, Beelzebub's double standard and hypocrisy. Well, I can't fault him for this video. I would be the epitome of those things if how he took things I said was what I meant. So these comments will basically be explanations. He said this.
He started calling me a liar and dishonest and a hypocrite.
I only called him a liar because he said I called him a liar. That would make him a liar. I did call him dishonest, which, after conferring with Gambleor, I discovered he took that to mean I was calling him a liar. After discovering this, let me explain what I mean by dishonest. Gambleor has made a lot of contradictory statements in our exchanges. This is simple fact. I made the comment to him that only in religion are contradictions a good thing. He then, yes, went on an attempt to show that contradiction in religion is a good thing. The acceptance of contradiction and belief that it is a good thing would lead most to the conclusion that this person is dishonest and not to be trusted. Gambleor refused the dishonesty claim, so that leaves me with two possibilities. He's a liar, which encompasses dishonesty, or he actually believes this. So, I can officially call him a liar, or have faith in his integrity. I choose the latter and retract my dishonesty claim. There are designations in language that apply to a person's philosophical views, whether they like them or not. When a person tells you that contradiction is a good thing, whether they believe it or not, they are lying or telling you the truth according to Gambleor's philosophy. I did not call him a liar. What he is saying by any logical reasoning is erroneous. So what do I call you, Gambleor, if dishonest is not the medium between truth and lies? If contradiction is a good thing as you claim, Gambleor, then contradiction does not exist. That would contradict your statement that in religion, contradiction is a good thing. If contradiction does not exist, then there is no statement mankind can make that cannot be accepted. All must be accepted. This is what belief in your God dictates. Now to his claim that I live by a double standard and am thus a hypocrite. He says this.
That he had blocked me because I had not, answered something the way that he wanted me to.
Yes, this is correct. I then went on to say this.
Gambleor, I've unblocked you. I only did it to let you think. You said that nothing exists without the existence of God. That means everything. All things. Thoughts, imagination, delusions, hallucinations, everything. You admitted that morals and morality only exist due to God's existence. That means anything associated with it as well. I have no problem with people changing their mind on their beliefs, but unfortunately for you, when it comes to God, you are not afforded that luxury. Basically, this makes me believe you are not to be trusted. You will tell me, as you stated, that morals and morality only exist because God exists, or I will no longer confer with you.
He would admit that I was right, that his morality comes from his God. He would then qualify that by basically saying, but they don't. This was his most prized game. John the Hut Dweller had a similar tactic. He said I was right too, then qualified it with cosmologically speaking. When I told Gambleor to tell me what I wanted to hear, I told him I wanted to hear it without the cosmologically speaking qualifier, or his version of it, which eventually he did, and subsequently began attempting to shift the focus onto a godless person's proof of morality. Admitting I'm right and then attempting to save face is all they were doing. The remaining stuff he mentions in this video are things he brought up and I debunked in previous videos and PMs. So he's not rehashing stuff, just using them to show his claim that I have a double standard. So I won't be responding to those things here again. So, onward.
The moment we shift past God and get to nature, we run into the same problem with morality, and then it becomes your problem.
This, as I told him, is true. This was part of his attempt to shift the discussion onto non-religious morality. This whole thing began because of my video, My Christian Challenge. Nowhere in that video did I mention non-religious morality, nor did I say non-religious people possess morality. But Gambleor cannot see the difference. I was proving his morality comes from his God, and that as such, religious morality doesn't exist. My video did not say non-religious possess morality, nor did I claim non-religious possess morality. As this quote from him demonstrates, he thought.
Because he's using a different standard for his morality, nature-based, than he would for Christian morality.
I responded to this with,
Beelzebub responded again, and this is where the double standard came in. True, but we haven't gotten to my problem yet, we're still on yours.
I gather from the rest of his video he believes I was saying that I won't discuss the proposition of the existence of non-religious morality. No, he misunderstood. I'd be happy to discuss that with you. But as I said in your quote of me, we haven't gotten there yet. Apparently, Gambleor equates the word yet, as I said, with the word no. Finish the discussion on where religious morality comes from. Then you can ask me if non-religious morality exists. I also told him, since he was harping on talking about non-religious morality so much, prove you have morals first. Then you can start wondering if others do. This means prove you have morals, then you will have the right to question if others do. You were still qualifying your admittance to me, so we weren't finished yet. Hope that clears that up. He then goes on to say,
the moment that we shift this onto nature instead of God, the argument meets the same fate. So you might as well consider yourself amoral too.
Again, I never claim morality, so I don't know where he's getting this. As I say, I believe he simply thought I was saying I would not discuss non-religious morality. I have no problem with that. I must say, these were interesting attempts at resuscitating your viewpoint, Gambleor. The first, the existence of an historical Jesus without miracles, that was the impetus for the Jesus of the Bible. I took that as a rebuttal of my statement that you cannot prove the existence of what came after your God until you've proven your God. That's ass backwards, and therefore doomed to failure. Somewhere near the end of my destroying this historical, non-powered Jesus of yours, you told me, paraphrasing you, that believing this Jesus existed does not prove that your religion is true. Nor does it affect atheism in any way, or damage, you may have said. I took this as nothing but desperate pleading on your part to get me to drop the subject, to allow you this one thing, so that you could maintain a reason to believe this crap. For me to accept and believe this for your sake. Not gonna happen. Is that what you do? Are you full of other people's ridiculous beliefs because they said please? I am on a crusade to exterminate superstition. It is destroying mankind. If you think I'm going to let any form of it survive to impede, cripple, and kill preceding generations, think again. I can do one of three things. Work today to make this place better for the next, do something to make it a worse world for the next, or do nothing. Destruction of superstition is one of the things I am doing to increase the health of the next generation. The second, well, can't say much there. This was simply a misunderstanding on your part. Your attempt to label me what society has labeled you for the stuff you've said and have written. If you don't like the labels you won fair and square, then my suggestion to you would be to consider the things you say and write before you say and write them.